Greetings, comrades! It is I, Miriam, the only Miriam, and thank you so much for tuning in. You see, we are now venturing onwards and finally starting to cover more sorts of difficult topics when it comes to the Armenian language. Of course, we are still learning our very basics and gaining proficiency when it comes to all sorts of language levels, but today we will start covering conjugation. It's absolutely terrifying, I know. But before we get started, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click on the zangak or the bell icon to receive notifications from this channel. And go ahead and comment down below. Let me know how your Armenian language lesson journey has been going. And let me know how y'all are doing. I would love to hear from all you beloved comrades. Also, thank you so much for all your recent support. I cannot thank you all enough. Truly, all this support for this channel really not only warms my heart, but actually betters this page for all you comrades out there. As I always say, be sure to take notes using pencil and paper as we go along, and I will be repeating each and every expression in both English and in Armenian. Also, let me know what other sorts of videos you comrades would like to see. Of course, we have ever so many language lessons on this channel, but I'm thinking of doing more cultural crash courses and many other sorts of shenanigans, so let me know. Anyways, enough with the shenanigans, let's get to some language learning. So vărăcaiden Mariami hent. So, conjugation. What exactly could it be? Conjugation is essentially when we take a verb and transform it to fit a sentence. And the way that we change this infinitive or the verb in its to form is all based on the subject pronoun. I actually do have a video out on subject pronouns in Armenian, and you should certainly have this topic mastered before viewing the rest of this video. So go ahead and check out the link in the description box for that previous video and do that homework before moving onward. Conjugation not only helps us describe what different individuals are doing based on the subject pronouns, but it can also let us know when a certain verb is being completed. And this is when tenses come into play due to how they describe when a certain verb is occurring. For example, in English, if I say I am speaking, because I'm speaking right now, this means that this action is occurring right at this very moment. But if I say I spoke or I was speaking, this means that this action occurred in the past. Now here is another note. In English, when we would like to conjugate, we always use the to be verb. And the to be verb is conjugated like I am, she is, he is, we are, you all get the gist. What's more is that we actually use this to be verb or the conjugated versions of it in order to conjugate other verbs. An example would be that in English, you don't always say I sing, but you say, I am singing, I am doing this, we are doing that, or she is, he is. Interesting is that in many other sorts of foreign languages, there is no need for that conjugated version of the to be verb when describing actions that are being done in the present tense. This might shock you. English and Armenian actually have very similar sentence structures when it comes to the usage of verbs. What I mean is, in Armenian, you also have to use the to be verb in order to describe many verbs that are occurring in the present tense. I don't know if this notion makes any sense to you all, and I apologize if it doesn't, but an example of what I'm saying is that if you speak French, you don't say je suis danse. You just say je danse for I am dancing. You don't necessarily use that am or that conjugated version of the to be verb. Same thing for German, you say ich schreibe. I am writing, but there's no am in the sentence. But what I'm saying is that just like how it is in English, we Armenians do have to use that conjugated to be verb to describe things that are occurring in the present tense. One final note before we actually begin conjugating is that Armenian verbs in the infinitive form or in the to form, and by the way, some examples of verbs in English that are in the to or like the infinitive form would be to dance, to sing, to live, to laugh, to love. But you see in Armenian that to is always at the end of the verb. and you always have to remove that part in order to get the root of the verb to conjugate that. I will explain this notion in further videos, but just keep in mind that Armenian verbs always end with either al or el. Some examples of crucial verbs to know that we will actually learn how to conjugate in future videos would be ganal, to go. Notice how it ends with al as the verb ending. Haskanal, to understand. Once again, it ends with al. Utel, to eat. Utelik actually means food. Notice how it ends with el though. Now that we have learned all these grammar rules, let us actually get to conjugating the to be verb in Armenian, since it is arguably the most important verb in any language. So the to be verb in Armenian is linel, to be, linel. Interestingly enough, a lot of Armenian children's stories or fairy tales actually begin with linume chilinu, meaning there is or there is not. This is essentially our version of once upon a time. Comrades, I must also add this as a heads up. I should have mentioned this earlier, but conjugation and verbs in Armenian are actually not that irregular. You know, there are other sorts of languages where verbs are extremely irregular and you can almost never conjugate them properly, but Armenian is pretty regular and it does stick to its rules for almost all the time. However, the to be verb is certainly not the most regular, as you all will see. Now, before we begin with conjugating, let us review our subject pronouns. Yes, I. Du, you, but the singular in the informal version. Duk, you, but plural and formal. Na, he or she. Menk, we. And lastly, we have narank, meaning they. And now we are going to learn how to conjugate linel for all of these subject pronouns. First of all, we have yes, yem, meaning I am. Next, we have du, yes, meaning you are, but the singular and informal version. Also, let me know if you comrades would like to see a video further explaining the differences between informal and formal language in Armenian. So I know that every video I always have so many segments of linguistic rants, but I actually include those in there so that it becomes much easier to learn a language through realizing similarities between all these different tongues and how there indeed are so many common patterns in all that we speak. It's quite interesting because du es is actually linguistically related to so many versions of you are in ever so many Indo-European languages. Some examples being tu es in French, and I believe you are in Latin as well. But anyways, moving forward. Duk ek. You all are, or you are. It's the formal and plural version of you. Next, we have na e. He or she is. Na e. Interestingly enough, the third person conjugated version of the to be verb in French is quite literally the same. E. Next, we have menk enk, meaning we are. And lastly, narank en. They are. Now, before we near towards the end and do an entire review, I must note that although parts of the sentence structure might be similar in English and in Armenian, you must remember that a lot of the times different parts of the sentence come before the verb. And an example of what I mean and what I will explain even more in future videos is that in English we say I am a girl, but in Armenian you would say yes achchik yem. That noun, or sometimes adjectives which are used, comes before the verb. But do not fret, we will further examine this topic later on. Now, let us review how to conjugate linel, or the to be verb in Armenian. Yes, yem, I am, du, es, you are, but the singular informal version, duk ek, you or y'all are, obviously the formal and the plural version, menk, enk, we are, na, he or she is, and narank, en, they are. This is a final note. Now that we have learned how to conjugate the to be verb, we are next going to learn how to conjugate verbs so that they will have a sort of ending the way certain verbs do in English when they end with ing. To clarify what I mean, if we would like to say, I am singing in Armenian, with all that we've learned thus far, we would know how to say I am and perhaps sing, but we wouldn't know how to conjugate to add that ing in there. So stay tuned for our very next video on this topic. Comrades, we have reached the end of this video. Thank you so much for viewing. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with your other sorts of comrades. Down below any video suggestions, any questions, or anything really. And I will see you all very soon. Shaq Shnarkalutyun, you've got this Noveng.